The U.S. jobs report for March was released today. The numbers came in way stronger than expected, Jim. We also have the China trade deal. Looks like we might get a deal. Might be a month away, but who knows? Right. Okay, and we also have Samsung, which is the real money stock of the day. We got to break that down. And Elon Musk's court date. Now, I know that you've got some thoughts on that. All right, so Jim, let's take a dive into the markets. What do you think about the jobs report?
Look, I think that what you really want out of a jobs report is you want to see some growth, but not red-hot wages. See, it's always the same thing. If you can get good job growth without wage growth, or just minimal wage growth, which is really amazing because all these people are starting to talk about people aren't making enough money. It's true with Jamie Dimon, we had that Ray Dalio. These are obviously money guys, but when you saw very little wage growth, it was the sign that Powell is still not going to do anything. And all you're looking for out of a number now is for Jay Powell to not get back in play. As long as you have a number with that little wage growth, Powell's protected. He's immunized, so to speak. And even though I wish the president at this point would stop talking about the Fed, but that's up to him. He can do whatever he wants.
If investors are worried about a recession on the horizon, is this a good...
This number showed you that there is no recession on the horizon, although the wrong kinds of jobs, so to speak. It was healthcare jobs that were added, but I think that we're going to see that March was a good month for retail. I'm looking forward to Matthew Boss's his terrific every year retail conference next week, JP Morgan. I think you're going to hear pretty decent things. And the selling season for housing is going to be stronger because mortgage rates have come down. The fact is that the economy's doing what it's supposed to do. Rates come down, things get better.
Now, I want to take a step back. Before we jump into the U.S.-China trade deal, I want to talk about an investing education opportunity, and that is why should investors care about the jobs report?
The single biggest driver of a stock market move in either direction is the jobs report. I analyzed that extensively in the book Get Rich Carefully, and it's rather incredible to me how correlative it is. This Friday is, when you have these Fridays, it tends to have a 2, 3, even 4-week aura, and this number's good, and it's going to help the month of April.
Let's talk about U.S.-China trade war now. I'm curious, what should investors be watching? This is another headline. Is it going to matter? Is it going to affect markets?
Yeah, I mean, we have to get the trade deal. Now, the president, it does something that's brilliant if you were in the stock business. He says, look, it's going to be a huge deal, huge deal, huge deal. It's not going to happen yet. So therefore, you have all these, week and week going up. I mean, I think that the issue with the trade deal is once again, the Chinese are saying, listen, we will buy whatever you want. And the president's pushback is, or Lighthouse's pushback, it's not about buying. It's about intellectual property stealing. So then they'll say, we'll commit to that, to not stealing anymore. And then the president's saying, well, wait a second, we need to have some sort of enforcement mechanism. So then the Chinese will say, listen, you can have tariffs if we violate. And the president's saying, listen, you know what, we just won't take off the tariffs. So that's, kind of where we are.
Let's switch gears. Let's talk about Samsung, which is real money stock of the day. Sorry, I just shocked you there, Jim. Okay, so what's going on with Samsung? We saw a weak profit forecast.
Right.
But,
in stock of the day, I think this is a very important issue because people have to understand. There were a series of downgrades. We did downgrade today, Intel, but more pertinent, we had a downgrade in Micron the other day. And the question was, has Micron run too far, too fast? And I think that the analysts may have been thinking, look, Samsung is going to say downbeat things about DRAMs. Well, the truth is the way things work at the bottom of a cycle is that companies cut back on production. And if you go back to when Micron bottomed, it's when they cut back on production, well, give or take like 10%. Once you cut back on production, that causes the price of DRAMs to start going higher or to stabilize. And if that's the case, then the Samsung number is rear view mirror, and Samsung's going to be fine, but more importantly, Micron's going to go higher.
Now, I just want to mention that the weak profit forecast is not the only headline that Samsung's had today. They also are releasing a new phone based on 5G technology, the Galaxy S10. That'll be released in Korea today, and in May it'll come out in the US.
Yeah, and it looks like there's a little bit of positive inflection in cell phones. At 5G, there's an ETF, FIVG, and in that ETF are a bunch of stocks. You got to be careful. Not all of them are 5G plays, but there's a way to, that's what some people are doing, is buying that ETF. I think it has too many good and bad, but 5G is something you're going to hear a lot about, and Xilinx is the best way. Skyworks is second, and Cisco's the third.
All right, and for more on Samsung, head over to our sister site, Real Money, where it's the featured stock of the day, as I mentioned. And last but not least, Jim, we got to talk Tesla. I know that this is the second day in the row, but it's the headline, and I'm wondering, yesterday we had comprehensive coverage on it. It was real money stock of the day.
Great coverage yesterday. Great coverage.
Great coverage.
Well, Tesla's very hard because what happened is the SEC made an argument that that material tweets were supposed to be cleared in a kind of like a compliance way you have at a let's say a firm, Goldman Sachs, and there was a compliance procedure that was set up as part of the settlement, and the compliance procedure was violated, and the tweet was about deliverables, and the tweet was that they were going to do 500,000. That was subsequently changed by saying they'll end the year with a run rate of 500,000, but they'll have fewer. They'll say 400,000. It turns out that the company is not going to probably do the 400,000, and that's what you found out yesterday when they announced those deliverables. Those deliveries were short. So if you go back to the SEC's complaint, they appended 2 different pieces of research to explain to the judge how this was the most material issue. Is you judge Tesla by its production. So what they were saying is, look, he violated, by tweeting about the most material issue possible, he violated the agreement. I think it's somewhat clear that the judge did not understand how important that figure was. That's why they appended the 2 pieces of research. It's also rather ironic. The stock got clocked really badly yesterday, second worst this year, because of this procedure of the number of cars they produce. So the judge didn't seem to understand. Sent it back to the SEC. SEC has had no luck reining in this guy. So the judge punted, which was a big victory for Musk. And Musk then said kind things about the judge. So the takeaway was it was a big victory for Tesla yesterday.
What is one thing that investors should think about when it comes to Tesla?
Well, remember, I've always said I'm not the call on Tesla because I've always said it's a cult stock, in that the people who love Tesla own the stock. I think that, so therefore, we're back in that world where there are plenty of, the Tesla bulls aren't giving an inch, Tesla bears aren't giving an inch, so you end up with this kind of, a battleground, and I don't really like battlegrounds. I think that they're too hard to opine on. I got caught up in a battleground on Lyft. It turns out that Lyft was driven down by shorts to some degree. The borrow was very high, meaning that there was just a tremendous amount of shorting. The stock went down to 66. It looks like the shorts overplayed their hand, and now the stock's coming back. Lyft is a battleground, and Tesla's a battleground. I don't want to say I was right on Lyft. I will say that at least we understand what was going on with Lyft, and you have to understand what's going on with Tesla is just a lot of short positions. Shorts never have equality with the longs, so you have to borrow the stock. But that's just a total battleground. Very hard to figure.
There's some investing education right there.
Well, you just stay away from battlegrounds. I mean, all my career I've tried to stay away from battlegrounds.
All right, Jim. Now, I want to talk about the Market Madness bracket that you did. And we actually have the first ever guest on this show, Danny Peterson, who is the bracket organizer. Okay, Danny.
Hey, Jim. How are you doing?
How are you?
Great.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Bracketologist.
Yeah, bracketologist. Okay, so guys, how did the challenge do?
Well, we had one of the largest private groups on ESPN with over 1,500 people, so that's something to be proud of. Yeah.
Wow.
And we were one of the only ones that didn't offer a prize, so that's pretty good.
That is very good. I went for the prize in CBS, and I did the same move, and obviously I was emotional like many others in the sense that I had felt the week before that UNC was going to win. I wish I hadn't picked Duke, but I didn't realize. But
you
it
did
wasn't
better than me.
Yeah, well, it wasn't going to be Duke. I still had Virginia going. You know what? It's funny those of us who play every year know that you always have to. That if you just go with the tried and true, okay, then it's no fun.
Yeah.
And so I went with the tried and true, and it turned out to be no fun and also no hope. In the year before, I have for years just done one thing, which is go Nova all the way, the way. For 2 years I was right, which is really rather amazing. But I think that what's so interesting about this year, and I think people really like it, is there is a Duke fatigue. You knew you had 3 NBA stars.
Yep.
Right? And what good was it to go up against the NBA? Well, it turned out that, the one thing that we love about college is that it's not game
Oh, I know.
Right?
As a UCF fan, I know the heartbreak, and I know Duke losing by 1 was only bittersweet for them as well.
Well, you know what's interesting is this Virginia defense. You know, it's funny, they don't play a lot of defense in the pros.
No.
But in college, teams play defense.
I know.
Jim, I gotta ask, how do you feel about your bracket?
Well, right now, I consider it busted. You know, it's just busted. I can't win, and I'll do it again next year. I am already starting to focus on fantasy football, if only just because if you follow the draft closely, you end up being able to. I'm a big rookie drafter in the last 4 rounds.
Okay.
And a lot of times what you have to do is you have to follow the draft because that's when you do your education. So I do like these things. I'm not doing baseball. Are you doing baseball?
I am doing baseball, and I know you are pretty excited about those Phillies.
Well, you know what? We had a game the other day. It was just a heartbreaking game. We scored 4. We came back from being a big deficit, and yet we still lost in the 9th. And we're being revealed as what I was most upset about at the beginning of the year, which was we didn't improve in pitching.
Okay.
But then again, you see the Mets improve in pitching, but they went hitless again yesterday. It's early in baseball. How do you feel about the pro basketball season?
Well, you know, the Sixers had a tough game last night against the Bucks, but
you know what? Butler didn't play.
I know.
Milwaukee's very good. I'm thinking about Milwaukee going all the way.
You know, I think if the Sixers meet Milwaukee, that's going to be a great series.
It is going to be fabulous. The Sixers better be careful. You can drop out of that third much more quickly than people realize. But it's a very exciting time to be from Philadelphia.
Oh yeah.
Very exciting time.
All right. Thank you,
Danny. Thank you for setting up. Congratulations. There's been so much interest, and I know that people should, this is, again, part of our awareness.
Yes.
That the street's kind of back, and I really like it, and you're a big part of it. Thank you, buddy. Good to talk to you.
All right, guys, thank you for joining us. And now we are going to jump over to our Action Alerts Plus Members Only Club video. You can join us there on actionalertsplus.com.